Chelsea Manning was taken into custody once again today, this time for refusing to testify before a grand jury investigation. She is saying that she is not going to cooperate with this and is once again being persecuted. Judge Claude H. Hilton of Federal District Court in the Eastern District of Virginia ruled that Manning must stay in civil detention until she testifies. Manning had vowed not to cooperate in the investigation, even though prosecutors granted immunity for her testimony. Now on Twitter, she put out a statement about why she is doing what she's doing and said, "I will not comply with this or any other grand jury. Imprisoning me for my refusal to answer questions only subjects me to additional punishment for my repeatedly stated ethical objections to the grand jury system. Grand jury's questions pertain to disclosures from 9 years ago and took place 6 years after an in-depth computer forensics case in which I testified for almost a full day about these events. I stand by my previous public testimony. I will not participate in a secret process that I morally object to, particularly one that has been historically used to entrap and persecute activists for protected political speech." Now there's a lot about this investigation that we don't necessarily know. As she was alluding to, there's a lot of secrecy, but the case is apparently part of a long-running criminal inquiry into WikiLeaks and its leader Julian Assange that dates to the Obama administration, in which the Trump administration revived. Manning said on Thursday that prosecutors on Wednesday had asked her a series of questions about WikiLeaks before the grand jury, but she had responded to every question by saying that it violated her constitutional rights.
This is fascinating. First of all, it's devastating, the fact that Chelsea Manning has been taken into custody over her refusal to testify in this incredibly secretive grand jury situation. But it's also fascinating in that the Trump administration revived, this case against WikiLeaks. And we had reported on this earlier when there was some evidence to indicate that Trump was planning to, or at least the federal government was planning on doing this. And this is more evidence that this is going on. It is top secret, it is sealed. There's no transparency and we don't know the details of it, but they're going after Julian Assange. And I'm just curious, what Julian Assange's opinion is on all that.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's strongly against.
It's anti.
But yeah, on the other hand, anyway, he did seem to be fairly supportive of Trump in other instances. Let's put it that way. So WikiLeaks and I have had disagreements about that, and about the timing of the release of the emails that they did. I covered those emails. I think there was nothing wrong with releasing them. Releasing them a couple hours after the Hollywood Access tape was interesting. They claimed, to be fair to them, that no, it was the Clinton people who released the tapes before they knew that WikiLeaks was going to release the emails. Okay, so you can look that up and judge for yourself which one is right about that. But part of the reason I tell you that now is, despite whatever disagreements we might have, it's an absolute outrage to try to prosecute WikiLeaks over these leaks in the first place. We're not talking about the emails. This is prosecutions of the war logs. But this is what Chelsea Manning leaked. That's why she went to prison for 7 years. And it is to show the war crimes that we committed in Iraq and Afghanistan. What she did was a service to this country. WikiLeaks publishing them is what any decent media organization could have done and should have done. And by the way, did do.
Yeah, others did.
Yeah, after WikiLeaks published them, for which I have always defended them 100% and continue to defend them 100% on. Then the Washington Post, New York Times, Guardian, they all printed them. So should we send them all to jail? So let's be clear about this. I mean, the New York Times has printed a lot of things that were leaked to them through official channels, through people working in the government. Should we round them all up? And by the way,
are you tempting Trump right now?
No, but the thing is, you have to understand that if you say it's okay to arrest Julian Assange or to go after WikiLeaks in this instance, you better be careful for what you're signing up for. I know the Democrats and MSNBC, et cetera, have demagogued around Assange. Oh, he cost us the election. No, I know you had nothing to do with it, right? It was Assange that cost you the election. But because of all that propaganda, and the Republicans hated him in the first place, so now the whole establishment says it's all Assange's fault. But once you agree to arrest Assange, then don't cry later when Trump rounds up Washington Post and New York Times reporters. Because you're saying anyone who prints government secrets should be arrested. You've destroyed freedom of the press if you agree to that.
Now, I will say I don't watch as much cable news as a lot of people, but as of right now, I haven't seen anyone pushing for that. And at least the reason it was revived is because people in the Obama administration felt like, well, look, obviously we're frustrated about all this, but we don't necessarily like the precedent that could be set. So that's why it was made dormant and needed to be revived later on. And I was going to say could you think of anything more unjust than Chelsea Manning being dragged back into this after already serving 1.5 Paul Manaforts in prison? Obviously, there's a lot of injustice in our system, so you probably can think of something, but Jesus, leave her alone.
Right, well,
I mean, what are you hoping to prove at this point? Maybe they think there's something that we haven't seen yet, some other crime. But like how, like I was obviously frustrated as you were at the time with Obama in saying, we're looking forward, we're not looking back in terms of war crimes and things like that. But there comes a point when you can stop looking back on something that we've already been through all of it. Whatever damage you think was done a decade ago at this point.
Well, I have a question about all of this because in this case, in this new case, I guess, they granted or said that they would give Chelsea Manning immunity if she testifies, cooperates. But immunity for what? I mean, hasn't she already served her time for
theoretically
the leak?
implicating herself in other crimes? And they don't even necessarily have to think that she did commit some, they could just think it's possible.
No, this is the government punishing its enemies. This is the government targeting freedom of the press, freedom of speech. So all the right wing who scream about freedom of speech when they want to say racist things, are you behind Chelsea Manning? Are you behind Julian Assange? Are you talking about that injustice to freedom of speech today? Because I don't see you.
Well, to be fair, Cenk, Ben Shapiro is going to start defending Chelsea Manning once he gets done protecting Ilhan Omar.
Right, and once he gets done cashing his checks for the only speech he cares about.
Yep.
So now, look, I'm going to go further. I want to give you a quote from Edward Snowden. He tweeted, this is graph 14, guys. And obviously he released secret government information that also let us know that our government was illegally spying in on us. Of course, no one suffered any legal consequences for the illegal spying, but they're looking to punish the person who told you about the illegal spying. So Snowden tweeted out, Manafort, 47 months for a lifelong carnival of criminality, including, by the way, betraying America and being a foreign agent. Petraeus, 0 days for trading the country's highest secrets for a more favorable biography. Manning, 35 years for revealing evidence of actual war crimes to the press. Your sentence derives from your proximity to power.
Absolutely.
100% right, no truer words have ever been spoken. So the judge in Manafort's case is like, but he was an upstanding citizen. Otherwise, what do you mean otherwise? He was a lifelong criminal and he hid his criminal proceeds. He hid the fact that he was a foreign agent, but he just has a nice suit on from the money that he stole. And so you think, oh, that's a guy that looks like me. Chelsea Manning, not a person that I would run into at the cocktail circuit. Let's crush her. So now let's turn to Manning for a second in that regard. The incredible bravery to say these are war crimes.
Yep.
I'm going to risk everything to expose those war crimes. And then she gets put in prison. She's continually stripped naked for no reason, tortured by every international standard, put in solitary confinement for no reason, for things like having a magazine that everybody else had, and the list goes on and on. So after suffering that brutal treatment and then finally being released from prison, she risked going back to prison on principle.
Yep.
Do you know anyone that brave? I don't know that I know anyone that brave. So I think Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning will go down as amazing American patriots and heroes. And the people who today speak out against them will bear a mark in history as people who did not believe in America and our Constitution. And later, they will pretend to have been on their side all along. And that's what they do every time. The bad guys in history do terrible things and oppose the good guys and try to crush the good guys at the present, and then later go, oh yeah, I was always with Martin Luther King. Oh, I believe it, that you shouldn't judge people by the color of their skin, like Martin Luther King said. So later these hypocrites will turn around and pretend that they were on Chelsea Manning's side all along. But where are you today when she needs you? And look, Obama, yes, I said one of the best things he did was commute the rest of her 35-year sentence. On the other hand, he pursued her to the ends of the earth. He pursued Snowden to the ends of the earth. Same with WikiLeaks. Yes, he made the case dormant, but he didn't close it. He didn't close it. He used the Espionage Act against reporters for stories he didn't like. His administration, like all other administrations, leaked. Was that ever pursued? Were there people in power ever put in prison for those leaks of government information? No, never. Never. But if it's something damaging to the government, go crush the powerless. Go crush the brave. Go crush patriots. So they pursued Assange to the end of the earth as well. And because he didn't close that case, as usual with Obama, and one thing Obama did not like was being challenged. Wait a minute, how dare you? Everyone in the press has to say how great I am. And if you challenge my government, I will open a case against you and I will pursue you. And he left that door open. Now Trump walks through that door and is now trying to crush Assange, WikiLeaks, anyone else that would ever give you information about the government, including Snowden and Chelsea Manning. Those are the heroes. And in this case, the government, as usual, unfortunately, are the ones that are looking to oppress us and take away our rights. If we don't fight back on this, all of freedom of the press is in grave, grave jeopardy. And these right-wingers who go against these people are with them when it's convenient and then turn on them in their time of need. You think the government won't then use that power to take away the rights of right-wing blogs? Depends on who's in government, right? But then you'll panic and go, oh my God, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, I wanted to say racist, bigoted, sexist things. I need freedom of speech. I didn't know they were gonna do this to me. Yes, this is when you fight. You fight for people doing the right thing, whether you're left wing or right wing. Chelsea Manning, indisputable American hero. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.